Hello and welcome to the Creabea Knitting Podcast. Hello, welcome. My name is Rebecca. I'm a knitter and knitwear designer based in Edinburgh, and this is a vlog or a podcast all about knitting, what I'm currently knitting on, what I've been knitting on, and what I would like to cast on in the not too distant future. And I have a mountain of project bags beside me, which means I have plenty to talk about today. I think I got 2 finished objects, a handful of new cast-ons, and I actually do have some yardy acquisitions, although it's in the other room, so I have to go get it, but that's fine. I also have some one planned cast-on, so lots to get into. I'm just going to take each bag as it comes and we'll see what's inside. Some highs and lows, like some good things, some not so good things, some points of improvement, and so on. Let's start with what I'm wearing. I am wearing technically a finished object, although not my finished object because I had this sample knit. I am wearing a Lunan tee. So the Lunan is my final pattern of the summer, and then I'm taking a break in August, and then I'm starting back up again in September. Like in my head, the design calendar runs similarly to like a school year. So it starts in September and then it runs until like May, June, July, and then you get the little summer break. That's not really how it is, but that's how my brain is. So in my head, like, this is my last pattern of the year, which is not the case because I'm still designing all the way up until December, but that's where my brain is at. So this is in my head, my last pattern of the year before we take a little summer break and come back for autumn. All that to say, this is my Lunan tee. It is a ribbed sort of baby drop shoulder tee. I'm calling this a baby drop shoulder, where it's a drop shoulder with some shaping. It's got this really pretty detail on the back, and it's got 2 neck options. So there's a round neck and there is a polo collar. I'll put a picture here of the polo collar version. And because I'm also the way I am, there is a 4-ply version and a DK weight version. So I've knit a polo and a round neck DK, and I had my fingering weight versions sample knit because I don't like knitting fingering weight things. But I will say, I love this so much that this makes me want to knit more things than fingering weight because I am obsessed with this. Let me talk about it. It is knit up in Filcolana Arwetta, which is a sock yarn. The gauge is 28 stitches, I think, for the ribbing. It's a 3x1 rib, and yeah, as you can see, it's just kind of a drop shoulder effect with a really, really narrow little rib here. This has negative ease, which it is not intended to have. So I'm not 100% sure what it is. I messaged my knit group as well and I was like, what do you think is happening here? I'll show you that I've got another sample, and when I blocked it out, it stayed blocked out. With this, when I block out the rib, it doesn't stay blocked out, it just like back in again. So I did get an extra, like when it arrived in the post, it was 39 centimeters across, which is 78 round, and it's meant to be 104 round. So it was majorly under. So I blocked it. I'm still not quite there. We're closer, I think we're up to like 98, 95, 98 centimeters. And on my chest it's 100 and 102, around about there. So it's meant to have a little fraction of positive ease, and instead it has a little bit of negative ease. I love it. I'm obsessed with this. I think it fits so nicely. I have nothing like this in my wardrobe, and I would probably not have gone out of my way to find something like this because it's kind of a little bit out of my comfort zone, and yet I'm obsessed with it. So like, it wasn't really an accident, but it is kind of great. I think I can block it to the gauge. It just doesn't stay blocked to that gauge, and yeah, I don't know what that is. So if anyone's got an idea for what that could be, there was a suggestion from Knit Night, it could be because it's a sock yarn, there's some nylon content, so that might be preventing it from stretching out. Yeah, I'm curious to know. So maybe you're not a big fan of extra room around your tees. I put a picture in of like the whole, I think a picture yesterday, pre-blocked to be fair, so it's very negative ease here. It's like 20 centimeters negative ease here. Now it's got about like 5 or 6 centimeters negative ease. And maybe it's something that you saw it the first time and you're like, oh, that's not really for me. It's too tight, it's too loose, it's oversized, I'm not into it. You could just make it a size down and wear it with negative ease like I am, and love it. I feel like this green is the olive green colour. Feels a little bit military vibes, but I'm not mad about that either. This t-shirt is just not what I expected, but honestly I'm pretty delighted. So yeah, my 2 samples that I knit were size 4, which I think is 112 centimeters, which would give me, yeah, around about 10 centimeters of ease. The size below that is 104 centimeters, and so this one and my 4-ply polo are both the smaller size, so the 104 one. Just thought it'd be good to show a bit of variety in the pattern. So yeah, not my finished object. I mean, it is mine in that I paid my sample knitter and bought the yarn, and now it's mine, but I didn't finish it myself. I'm excited because the polo version I think is finished too, so that'll be on its way to me soon as well, and then I'll have all 4, and I'm so excited because I love every single one of them. My next mission is to cast on a long sleeve polo version, and I think I might use this yarn again. This is the Filcolana Arwetta, and it's lovely. It's really, really nice. Maybe I'll use that again. So my second finished object then is my own finished version, and I've finished it and woven the end in and not trimmed the ends. But this is my DK weight version. It's really wrinkly at the bottom, and I think I just need to like put it somewhere where it's not going to be superbly wrinkled. I keep like folding it into the back of my wardrobe, and then it just holds a wrinkle very readily. The top seems to not, but the bottom does, strangely. This is the same yarn I made my polo version out of. It is Camarose Someruld. I would say it's quite heavy for a summer tee. My preference was going to be knitting for olive cotton merino, which is 50-50 wool and cotton. This is 70% wool, 30% cotton. So it feels more like a woolly t-shirt than a summery, it's cotton summery tee, which for me in Scotland is fine, but just a note on the yarn. I will one day make one of these in cotton merino because that was like my vision from the get-go, and that's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, here it is. It has there's the shoulder detail that I was talking about. I am really into the shoulder detail at the moment, as if you watch anything recently you'll know, because it's quite a few of my designs. And yeah, this one has about 10 centimeters of ease, whereas this one has about -3, more than that maybe. Yeah, so I finished this one. I'm really pleased it's done. I really like it. We're taking pictures next weekend, and it'll be out 2 weeks today when this video goes live, which I think is like the 20-somethings. It's the last Friday of July. Yeah, I think it's everything about my linens. We've obviously got the puppy, and I don't really want to risk wearing knitwear around him because he's mostly fine, but like every once in a while he just turns into a little shark, and then he gets a little bit chompy, and he's put a few holes in t-shirts, both mine and Sam's. And I just don't want to risk wearing knitwear around him until he stops being a little chomp, because I like my knitwear too much. There are a couple of sweaters I've worn and he's chopped the sleeve, but I'm fine with it. But I really want to wear this when we go away this weekend, and I'm not sure if I will because we'll have puppy with us. So I need to make some decisions. Maybe I'll just save it for like Monday night when I get back. My idea of a good night out. So yeah, linen round neck 1, linen round neck 2, 4-ply, DK, round neck versions. There is also polo, 4-ply, polo, DK. And when I knit the long sleeves, I'm just going to add the long sleeve version to the pattern. I think the decreases would be easy to work out. But yeah, my plan is to later in the summer cast on a long sleeve version. I think a long sleeve polo will be my option of choice. Okay, is that the right place to put that? Is that going to distract the camera focus point? Yeah, slightly better. Those are my finished objects. Let's move into my works in progress. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 works in progress. Okay, I'm going to start with what is currently my most problematic one, and that is my wrap cardigan, which I thought I was bang on with. I feel like, was it two episodes ago, I recorded and I was saying, I said like, this is, oh, my numbers are off, this is a nightmare. And then last episode I was like, oh, I'm back on track, I need to do the maths, and then I did the maths and the maths was perfect, and I was like, that's amazing, it's all perfect, it's gonna work out. And I don't know what's happened, I don't know if my gauge has changed. It is alpaca, so potentially it's stretched, but I thought I was close to finishing the body. My stitch count wasn't where I was hoping it would be for the length it was at, so like I wasn't sure if my row gauge was maybe a little bit off, but ultimately I'm not increasing fast enough at the cross, so it's not crossing quite as high as I'd like, and then once it crosses I'm only getting I'm not getting like the full width of my body to be able to cross the ties over. So this is too open and I need to add more stitches across the front. So I have it to show, but with the caveat that it needs pretty much all redone. So here it is. I think the row gauge has changed because I think that armhole has become deeper as well. And I'm wondering if it's just because it's alpaca and that it's just with wear. Which is fine, but yeah, I'll remeasure my row gauge and check that I'm okay with it and check if it's changed from what I have in my notes. It might make sense for me to try and knit a sample of something else and then come back and do this one as my second sample and just try and knit my first sample out of like a woolen mohair, which is less likely to stretch. Alpaca can just stretch like that. I wasn't expecting it to with the mohair, but maybe it has a little bit. So potentially, if that's happened, my answer is to park up this sample, cast on what would be my second sample, but cast it on first and knit it and see. But I'll have to compare my gauge with my pre-block gauge first and see if that's what the problem is. But that's where my gut is going right now. So yeah, it's this is where you can see like it's a bit too, it's not a sharp enough angle. So I want it to be, it's currently like this and I want it to be more like this. But otherwise, really loving it. I mean, I've tried it on since and I just think the way the shoulders fit and everything is really lovely. It is a set-in sleeve, which I have not designed before. I've knit it before, but not designed before. And it means it fits really lovely around the back, so more formal fitting. It's quite close to the body. It has waist shaping. And the plan is also, when it gets to grading and tech editing, to speak to my wonderful grader and tech editor and speak about bust shaping options, because I think that would make the pattern a lot more versatile. I have until like mid-August to get this one into testing for it to have 12 weeks. So I'm not super worried about this setback again. I am just a bit frustrated that I'm still knitting on back and forth on 3.25mm needles and I'm going to have to rip out the whole body again. So yeah, even just saying that aloud, that might be a case for try the second one and come back to this one and see where I get to. But we'll see. I have a napping puppy and he's quite cute to watch and he's just rolling over to other positions and making some little grumbly noises while he does it. Anyway, so yeah, that's where we're at with this. Things I do really like about it are the I-cord edging. I think the I-cord edge is just really, really subtle. On the inside you can kind of tell it's an I-cord, but on the outside it's just a really clean edge. And I really like that. And because the I-cord is ever so slightly tighter, it kind of like pulls it into your body in a way, almost like an elastic edge, which I think wraps can gape often. And the big thing for this is I don't want it to gape. I want full coverage. And I want that more like fitted shoulder. And so this allows me to do that, which I really appreciate. So yeah, like not an entirely unsuccessful one. I'm using dropped alpaca, which I love, and Filcolana Tilia mohair. I have had success with these two yarns before and I've not noticed them changing fabrics before with blocking. I've used this combination, I've used alpaca and like the exact same alpaca and honestly maybe the exact same mohair, maybe a different mohair, in a cardigan, and it was completely fine and didn't stretch out, and a sweater and it's completely fine and didn't stretch out. So I wasn't expecting this to happen with the washing. But I'll measure my gauge and see where we're at and then see if, is it just a case of ripping back to the armhole? That means I'm gonna have to reknit like so much stuff. And also because it's a wrap, there's just so much to it. Like it's not just like little bits, it's like all the way across, so it's so much knitting. So this whole panel would have to be reknit. Anyway, that is my currently least successful one. I blocked it this week and washed it. It smells so good. But my thoughts right now, I'll make a decision probably at the start of next week, but my thoughts right now are to gauge check my row gauge, my row increases, and then potentially cast on sample 2 and start from scratch and then come back and fix this one after I've done that. That's my gut feeling. Let's see what I do, because I'll probably change my mind on that by like 2 hours from now. Okay, my second one is also like not quite unsuccessful, but also not quite where it's meant to be. So I'm doing a test knit for someone else, which is slightly ridiculous, but fun, I think. So Jonathan of Jonathan Today's has a shawl pattern called the Utility Shawl, and when he first talked about it, it reminded me a lot of a ready-to-wear scarf I'd seen that had like a blanket stitch edging, and it is a like double-sided stockinette scarf, so I knew that I had to do something that was in the round to get stockinette on both sides to recreate that scarf. And then Jonathan did a test call for his utility scarf, and I thought that is perfect, that's exactly what I need to get. So I was on the fence of what to use. I didn't want to use anything too fluffy because the blanket stitch detail I want to pop out quite a lot, and so I wanted to use a kind of solid colour. And the pattern calls for a fingering weight and a lace weight yarn. So I decided to cast on with Kinross 4-ply, which is this one, and Kinross lace. However, the fabric is just way too dense, absolutely way too dense. So I'm bang on gauge. It's 25 stitches, which I said to Jonathan as well, I think for a mohair, where it's like 800 meters for 50 grams, it's much thinner, that gauge is manageable. But for this lace, which is 650 meters per 100 grams, it just creates a fabric that is just like, you can kind of tell, but there's just like, there's no drape on this. Like, it's solid. It like holds its shape. You see that? Like, yeah. And it's lovely soft fabric because this yarn is really soft and I've washed and blocked it, but it is not like cozy wrap around me, easy breezy, like tie nicely. It is really just like, yeah, like it's just solid. It's way too dense. So I messaged Jonathan and I said to him, I'm struggling with the gauge for this. Firstly, last episode I was like, there's no way I'm gonna hit gauge on that. I hit gauge, thank you. 25mm, 2.75mm needles. But I hit gauge, and yeah, I was kind of proud of myself for that because, as we know, I don't really knit fingering weight garments or fingering weight anything. I mean, I have knit fingering weight sweaters in the past, I just don't love doing it. So I messaged and said, like, I'm struggling about the gauge for this, what would you like me to do? So I gave him two options. I said I can either cast on, start again, either way. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it, I think. I can either, also it looks like a shark fin, don't you think? Like, na 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 na. And when it was just this much and it was really standing up properly before it got blocked, it looked like a shark fin. So anyway, I digress. I said to him, there are two things I can do. First option is I could take off the lace weight and just knit it in fingering weight yarn at the same gauge, or I could go up a needle size, or like up however many, probably to like a 3.5mm. Yeah, it's like 0.75 of a needle size. And I can knit it with these two, and like it won't fit the end size, but it'll fit the yarn. And I said to him that my preference was to do the second one because I'm not going to use this lace weight yarn for anything else. Like, I'd rather use the lace weight yarn for this project. And he said, that's absolutely fine. Go ahead and do that. So that's what I'm going to do. The only other modification I made is that I cast on fewer stitches than called for in the pattern to get more of a point at the end. The pattern has kind of like a flat end, but because I'm trying to recreate this one that I've seen already, I decided to go straight for this like pointy end, by just casting on a fewer stitches. It technically is still flat, but I could kind of block it into a point, which worked quite well for me. And the goal is that every single edge will get some blanket stitch around it, but I need to get this started again. So actually what I will do, I will leave this on the needles. I'm just gonna, there we go. It is detached from the yarn, and I'm just gonna start again with this and see how far I get. I've got way more yarn than I need. And actually, yeah, that's fine. I'll just go until I'll measure this yarn now, or weigh this yarn out now, see how much I've got, and I'll either go until I'm halfway through all of the yarn I have, or until it reaches the size in the pattern, and whichever one makes more sense. But I'll cast it back on 3.5mm needles. Deadline for the end of July. Not sure I'm going to make the deadline if I restart, but I should. So I just need to get going on it again, to be honest, and then see where we land with that one. But the fabric is, I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be really lovely fabric. And people in the test knit are already talking about making their second and their third, so you know you've hit a winning pattern when that's how it goes. But yeah, my experience is it needs to be quite for that kind of gauge. And to be honest, if I wasn't test knitting it, I think I probably would have jumping up a few needle sizes anyway, but I was adamant to try and stick to the requirements for the test, so the gauge in the test. But I think the yarn I've chosen is just not quite going to work out for it. So very appreciative to Jonathan for being flexible with me and letting me go up a needle size, and excited to see how it turns out either way. It's called the Utility Shawl, sorry. You can head to his Instagram. I think there are some great pictures of it there. There are 2 sizes, I believe, and I'm knitting the smaller size. Although again, you could knit until you're like just a bit before halfway of your yarn. The decreases, Jonathan did note that the decreases use up a little bit more yarn than the increases do. So he said that he would not quite use all of your yarn. Like don't use 50%, use like 40 or 45% of the yarn and then start decreasing. So it's a bit like a Sophie shawl in that way, in that you can just keep going until you've used up half your yarn and get the most out of some really special skeins. And I think there are quite a few testers using like really special skeins, and I was very tempted. I've got a couple of like fingering and mohair that are really nice, but I decided not to do it because I want to try and stick true to my inspiration, which is this ready to wear version I've seen. So that's my utility scarf. I just hit myself in the head with that. Did you see that? I was like okay, so those are my 2 what I will call unsuccessful. They're not in a perfect place. They need a bit of work, they need a bit of thought, they need a bit of thinking before I can move forward. The rest of my whips are all in a really strong place. So let's talk about the one I'm most excited by. However, it's taking me the longest. Well, not the longest, but I need to get a move on with this. I showed my NYX sweater last time. So 12 months ago, well, not quite, but last October, I released a pattern called Stick Season, and that was a collaboration that I did with Ali of Explorer Knits. We are both big fans of Noah Khan, and I designed a sweater inspired by like his vibe and used her yarn to design in, and then released the sweater, and I just had a great time. Like, it was so much fun. It was such a fun collaboration, and I feel like as a designer you're pretty much solo. Like, you have test editors who are part of the journey with you, but really and like, you know, photographer and tech editor, and like, it's never that I never release a pattern 100% by myself. It takes a lot of work from other people as well. However, what was I gonna say? However, the excitement is kind of your own. The hype of the day is kind of your own. And even like, my partner's very supportive and he's always like, how's it doing? How's pattern sales going? Like, it's still end to end, like your work, and it's not like a team project, it's not a group project, it's like a solo thing. And this was, I think the collaboration last year was the closest I've come to it feeling like a group project, but also in like a good way. So we're excited about the launch, and I think the kits for Stick Season sold out in like 20 minutes, and that felt really good because I knew that like it worked out for her, and then the pattern sales went pretty well. So it was just a really, really nice experience. And I think before the year was even up, Ali had messaged and said, okay, we're doing this again, right? And then reached out earlier this year and said, okay, let's get the ball rolling again. And so we stuck with the theme of picking an artist we both love, and that is Hosier. We've both seen Hosier Lab a few times, I think. And I think last time I was trying to remember what the phrase was, and it is opulent, maybe. Like, there's a word, like kind of like old school, dark academia, a bit gothic, a bit opulent, a bit over the top, but also could just be walking across like a barren Irish moorland, or like, I don't know, like could just be in the Giant's Causeway in this, and it would look timeless. Like, those are all the things I'm trying to channel, just a couple, you know. Anyway, this sweater is knit in 2 colours of Ali's yarn. This is the Oh My Guinness. So there's an Ireland collection, and I wanted the first sample to be in the Ireland collection. This is Oh My Guinness, and this is Woolly. They're beautiful together. And this is like a neutral version. There is also a bright version. That's coming later because the palette, at least one of the 2 yarns I'm using, has not even been released yet. So I won't be showing that for a while, but I'm almost finished the body of this. This is not my first all over colour work, but it feels like my first all over colour work, because the first one was a massive failure basically. Ta-da! This is how it's looking. Oh my goodness, it looks so good on camera. So I'm very, very close to, I'm just on a needle size, it's just big enough, but it means as soon as I pull on it, it unravels. So I'm just You can tell that I blocked it to this stripe because it's nice and neat and clear, and then under this is just like chaos, like you can't even tell what's going on. But yeah, we're almost at the end of the body, and then just some ribbing to do, and I'm obsessed with this. I just love it so much. I really, really like it. I think it's a bit different. I think there's something fun going on. The second version will just have yoke colour work, so it will not have the whole body, it'll just be the yoke. So a little bit of both, and as per always, they'll both be available in the same pattern, same cost. And I think the yoke colour work will stop where this sort of, so the brown is the main colour, and so that's probably better. So the yoke colour work will run as deep as there, which is actually going to be incidentally kind of perfect because it basically is where my yoke split is, which I didn't do on purpose, but that's kind of fun. It will not be like that for every size, but yeah, so I think it'll go as far as this triangle, and it'll be mostly like triangular yoke. I'm also already considering a Christmas version, which I think would be like a fluffy Christmas version in like a rich blood red, like a crimson-y Christmas red and some like ivory white. Oh, I think it'd be so cool. But I already have another. Colour work is so addictive. Like when you start colour work, it like taps into my brain, where my brain is like now has 1,500 colour work ideas. So yeah, it's really, really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm finishing the body off with a 1x1 colour work like this up here, so that's what I'm currently working on at the bottom. And then I've got the sleeves to go, and I've already got the sleeves charted. So yeah, it's all very exciting. There's a couple of things I need to work out. I've sent some questions to my tech editor to ask about it, about like, is there like a standard way of doing some things? I don't know if all tech editors do this, but mine is amazing. So yeah, it's all over colour work, and of course because of the way it operates, because it's one chart all the way from the neck to the bottom, different sizes will split for sleeves at different points in the chart. So how do I ensure that it's obviously going to be different lengths for different people, and so how do I give options around making it more of the right length for you? So yeah, that's some like pending question at the moment. But I'm having a really good time. I'm really, really enjoying it. We are going away this weekend, and I kind of want to take this with me, but I'm not going to take it. Even though I really need to get the sleeve done. I need to get a sleeve done. It's going to go into testing, to be honest. I still have 2 weeks before it goes into testing. Is that right? 1 week or 2 weeks? It might be next week. But for the test call, I really need to have the whole body done in a singular sleeve, and I can put it into testing with that, so that's fine. So I'm on track, but I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like the pressure at the minute to get it finished, and there's not really pressure, like it's in my head, I'm totally on track with it. And the thought of going away for 2 days and leaving this here is making me panic, but that is ridiculous. So yeah, the second version I'm also so excited for. The fit on this is really, really nice. It's a 20 stitch gauge, so like a nice DK weight pattern. I've got some good looking floats in there, a couple of long ones to be honest. And yeah, I would not consider myself to be a particularly excellent colourwork knitter, but I put a lot of weight into blocking, and that blocking will solve all my problems, and I find that almost always it does. So if you are not a confident colourwork knitter, I find that when I'm knitting it looks really messy, and then I block it and it looks amazing, and that is what I would generally recommend to anyone who's doing colourwork. I don't know, I do know some people who knit colourwork as neatly as it is after blocking, but not that many. And then block your colour work. So yeah, that's where we're at with that one. I need to get the pattern written up before we go away. Hopefully tonight, but I already have a lot to do this evening, so we will see how that goes. Okay. Whew. Okay, I have 2 more. So I just talked about stick season. Here is another version. So I mentioned last time I'm working on a 6 season jacket, and this is kind of, I keep telling myself to stop working on it because it's not going to be, it's way later in the year. I am months ahead of schedule for this, but I didn't really have, like, my scarf was blocking, my wrap was blocking, and I needed some plain stock in it to work on, and my new other project hadn't arrived yet, so this actually got quite a lot of work on it, even though I'm trying not to, but it's really nice. It's a nice gauge, and it's up really nicely. I even hand wound this ball of yarn this week. I don't know why. I was too lazy to go and wind it, and I thought, oh, I'll just hand wind it. It took me ages. Reminded me why I bought a Swift and a ball winder. This is Studio Donegal Soft tweed soft Donegal. Oh, do I have the ball band this time? No, I do not. Oh, it's actually right there. But I can't see it. Anyway, another example of why it's a very good idea to block. I mentioned this last time, but like my swatch is beautiful and even and like textured in a fun way. The pattern is just like chaos. Like it looks really crumpled. But I have faith in the power of blocking. So, let's have a look at this. So this is where we're at. It is, it has some of the details of the stick season. So it's got the ribbing under the arm. It's got the shoulder detail at the back. And last time I mentioned it's going to have pockets. I'm also considering, because I'm going down the jacket route, I'm considering adding a folded collar. Again, as an optional, so it can have a round neck or a folded collar. I think that could be really fun. Like a little jacket collar. I'm still TBD on that one, but I think it could be fun. And if I was to do it, it'd be on this version. There will be 2 versions. Oh, yes, per always. There'll be 2 versions. There'll be 10 versions. I'm going to make one that's got the texture of the stick season, and I'm going to make one that's got the no texture. So it's going to have both. And honestly, it's just really nice in it. It's really, really lovely. I'm looking forward to blocking it and seeing how it works up. I'm seeing how like some of it's just like, this is looking really puckered and stuff right now. But I think it'll block really nicely. It's a nice fit. I've already tried it on quite a few times. And yeah, this is where we're at. So what have I done? Probably about 20 centimetres under the arm. I don't have crazy much longer to go, to be honest. And then sleeves, and then I need to work out what to do with my button band collar situation. The collar idea only came in my head like days ago, so I've not really put any real thought into it. But yeah, I thought it'd be nice to add an extra option to the pattern. She says about every single pattern she ever releases. So yeah, not a whole lot to say. Lovely yarn, lovely project, quite Moorish. Kind of wish that I was on deadline with this because that would be a fun thing just to sit and knit on. But I'm not on deadline for that. I've got loads of time, and what I'm not on deadline for is, in fact, all over colour work, which requires a fraction more brain space than stockinette flat, unsurprisingly. Okay, I have 2 weird ones. Let me go with my, it's actually not even cast on yet, but I'm going to cast it on today, so I'll talk about it anyway. Not today, tomorrow. So my kit sweater is currently in testing. It's my first pattern of the new year, so it'll be my first September pattern. I'll pop a picture in. It is this Oliver Herringbone texture design that I am completely in love with. The testnet started today, no, started like 2 weeks ago. I am so all over the place today with my dates and my specifics. And yeah, there was a, so I mentioned last time that my Lunan testnet got pushed back 2 weeks because we hit a snag. And then someone online was like, what is the T? If you are that person who asked what the T is for the testnet, the T is, I messed up the numbers and they were wrong. And I only realised once the testnet got started that they were wrong. So I work with a grader and she's graded most of my most recent designs, all of my most recent designs. My logic is I have a day job. I always feel the need to justify things when I say that I work with a grader, which is probably, like, I don't need to justify that. But that's me telling myself that. Because part of me is like, oh, is it cheating if I'm not grading everything myself? I don't think it is. It's not. But my brain tells me it's cheating. So anyway, I work with a grader. When I started designing and working full time in designing, I had a bit of a sit down and had a bit of think about what are the parts of the job that take up the most time for me, take up the most brain space, and the parts that I enjoy the least, and grading is one of them. It was taking me like weeks to grade things because my brain was like sludge and I wasn't getting through it. So at that point I started working with a grader who does an amazing job and has graded most of my recent patterns. We had a bit of miscommunication in the write-up where the back panel on some sizes was not ending in a full pattern repeat, so you increase all along here, and some sizes were increasing to half a stitch, to 2 stitches instead of to the full four, half of this anyway, battery change. So some of them are graded, some of the sizes were graded where that didn't line up, and I just didn't realise it. So I sent it off and then didn't realise that had happened. I went to testing and the tester was like, this isn't right, and I was like, huh? And I couldn't work out what the issue was. And it turned out that there was just this issue in the pattern that was the same for almost all the sizes. across the DK and the 4-ply. And by the time I got to the bottom of what happened, the test knit was already like 10 days in, and a few, like almost every single person, there were some relatively significant changes for. So the tea is, I messed up the numbers and I messed up the communication with my tech editor. And because my tech editor's in the grading, there wasn't another filter for it to go through before it went to knitters. And so I was like, I just felt so guilty. I was like, I felt like I just wasted everyone's time. And ultimately, it's going really well now. People are posting their pictures. It looks really lovely. It had some really valuable feedback. I think the pattern's great. Like, I love my samples of it, so I'm really into the final object. But yeah, for the person who asked what the tea was, the tea is, there was a mistake with the numbers. And so almost every size got a brand new pattern 10 days into the test. They were all given the option of continuing with knitting what they had been knitting or starting over, and it was like 70% started over, and some people kept with the same one, or they'd like worked it out by themselves and found a fix, so they were just continuing with that, which I said was completely fine. And since then I've started working with a second tech editor who will like tech edit what my grader has done. So by the time it goes to testing, it's gone through, like, I've written it up, written the construction. Usually then, who is my tech editor but also a grader, has then graded it and come back and ask me like any dumb questions, like, are you sure this is how this is meant to be, or like, have you thought about this thing? So it's already gone through like one pass, and it's now going through then a final tech edit with a tech editor who's just tech editing. So yeah, the goal always is that when it goes to test knitting, I don't want there to be any mistakes. I don't want there to be any issues. I want that pattern to be as close to ready as possible. And the only things that I, at that point, really want to happen are people being like, oh, this comment, like the phrasing of this wasn't super clear, or like, can you give a bit more context here? Or like, this word's the wrong way around, or like, you forgot a comma. Like, at that point, it's more about the user experience than about the numbers. But what I learned with this was that it was not about that. It became a numbers problem, and so I've changed the process. So to that one person on Reddit, that's what happened. That was the tea. I'm pleased with it. I think I have some more work to do around my test knitting process and working out what works best. I like the way I do it. I have live feedback the whole time, so my test knits run right up until the feedback deadline, because the document is always live, and because the feedback form goes out so early in the test that I always have loads of feedback. Like, the only thing that I'm ever waiting on right at the deadline is the yardages, because everything else, there's not been anything that I've only ever caught last minute. It's all come earlier in the test knit. So that works quite well. I work in a live document on Google, so like everyone can comment, and I like that. It's in an Instagram chat, which I like and I think is friendly. However, like, I know some other test knit designers are using Slack or Discord, so I think I just need to have a bit of a think. And I've been doing this now, I've come out for 2 years. It's all about working out how to fit, like, when I started I just did the process, and probably for the first like year I just did the process, and now I'm trying to work through some other things. So am I using the right communication channels? Do I have enough checks in place beforehand? And then now it's, yeah, making sure the test is long enough. So as I think I mentioned the last time, I'm trying to get all my tests out to 12 weeks. I think next will be 12, my first one is at 12 weeks. So we're getting up to, like, you know what, so I'm just trying to like assess all those things. So if you have tested it a lot, or you haven't tested it a lot but you have some things, what are some things you really enjoy in test knitting? Because I just did it the way that I'd experienced it well before, and now I'm trying to work out what the next thing is. And the other thing is trying to work out how to pick test knitters, because that is always going to be a nightmare, and I don't know the answer to that either. But I'm not expecting answers to that question. But yeah, just curious if there's something you've really enjoyed in a test knit before. Let me know, drop me a message, put a comment down below, because I'm just trying to make sure that every test is a little bit better than the last test, and see how that goes. So I've tackled duration, we've tackled accuracy, communication channel is still next, and then like any other business, AOB. Anyway, what a tangent. All that to say, the test knit for the kip is underway, and I thought there was a massive mistake again. Despite using 2 tech editors this time, I thought there was a major mistake and that people were gonna have to rip out loads, and I freaked out, and I was like, oh my gosh, no. Back to back, I have the worst luck, what is going on? I thought I fixed this problem. that is not the case. I jumped to conclusions, the pattern is correct. So yeah, that was my panic last night. All I have to say, it's not that way, but I'm casting on my second sample. Jeez, what a roundabout attempt at me trying to say what I was saying. I am using a Rerum Natura, sorry, I'm trying to get myself back on track after rambling so much. Kip sweater, second sample. The pattern's not coming until September, so I've got loads of time, but it is a relatively, you need a lot of rows per 10 centimeters, like 44 rows, so it doesn't knit up super quickly, so I want to get this on my needles. And also I love doing it this way, and this is one of the reasons I'm also looking forward to extending my test knit period, because I like to knit the second sample a little, like once some of the comments are in the document and once the pattern is there, so that I can revise the pattern both with the pattern in front of me, my sample in front of me, and the feedback comments, and I can like sweep through as I go and be like, oh yeah, you're right, like that is clearer now that I am coming back to it. All that to say, that's what I'm planning to do. This is Rerum Natura Ulysse. It is orange. It's kind of coming up like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's pretty orange. It's like a burnt orange colour. I'm super excited for this. I think it's going to be lovely. I'm taking this with us this weekend. It's on 5mm needles. That's all I have to say. I've not even cast this on yet. I used this all as an example. Yeah, this turned into just a rant instead of me saying what I was going to do. So I'm taking 2 balls. It was interesting because I was a bit, not concerned, but I think that it takes a special kind of yarn for this pattern. And well, I think Ulysse is a special yarn, and I think it's hard to mimic that. And I was a bit concerned that people were going to really struggle with gauge. The good news is that is not the case. So there's a wide range of yarns in the test knit, which I'm really pleased about. But I decided, usually if I'm using, like, if it's not a collaboration and I'm using my own yarn, I'm just using yarn that I've chosen, I quite often try and pick a different yarn for the second sample if I think the first one is inaccessible. But I think Ulysse is pretty great. Like, it's a good price point, there are loads of colours, it's pretty widely stocked, and yeah, I'm just gonna stick with it. So it's in my lobster bag and it's all packed up. I'm not gonna get this much done, but I've got 2 skeins and some needles, and we'll see how much progress I make driving. I think we've got something crazy, like 12 hours of driving, but it's 12 hours of driving with a puppy, so maybe if he's sleeping I'll be knitting, and otherwise I just hit myself in the face with that again. It's a chaos episode. Okay, last thing, and then I'm not going to bother getting the yarn that I was going to show because I'm already rambling a lot, and I will have yarn to show next time for sure because I got a dispatch notification on it, so I know it's coming. Okay, there's something about this time of year, or maybe it's this weather, I'm not sure what it is, but ultimately I decided to cast on a blanket. Do I have 2 works in progress blankets that I've not touched in 7 months? Yes, I do. So I don't know what came over me, but I just really wanted to knit a blanket. I think it's because I had all my stockinette projects were gone. I wanted some squishy garter, and I was thinking about my Tide sweater, which is a pattern, sweater and cardigan pattern. I think I'll be coming out later this year, or maybe early next year. And then I was thinking about a Tide's blanket. My brain was just having a little wander all by itself. And then I made a swatch. And here's my swatch. My swatch is not perfect, but you can kind of get the idea of it. It is waves, whaley waves, and it's a blanket. I mean, this is not a blanket, this is a swatch. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. This is really good fun. It is kind of like in the same way of things like a Sophie scarf, or like, you know, like a really easy mindless stockinette with a bit of something, not stockinette, garter with a bit of something going on. And I really liked it. This version I seamed, and I like the seaming because it is entirely seamless. It's not seamless because it's seamed. It has a very obvious seam, but you can't see the other colour anywhere, if that makes sense. But it could also be joined as you go. So I need to decide if I want to try, I need to decide what I'm going to do. I feel like seaming the whole thing is going to be a lot of work. Even though I enjoyed doing it, I feel like for the whole thing that could be quite a lot. But at the same time, I don't know if I'll get it quite as slick as this. Join as you go, I think join as you go could be faster, but I do think you'll have a bit of the other colour peeking through. I've done a bit of research into a couple of methods, and every method that I've come across so far, there's still a bit of the other colour peeking through. So yeah, I have no idea if this will become a pattern. I have no idea if this will even become a finished blanket. I'm currently on a whim, and I am acting on that whim. So again, I'm taking this with me this weekend. I'm accidentally well, not really on purpose, but I'm accidentally taking my 2 Elizabeth Scarlett pouches. These are from this like luxury, this very like luxury bag brand, but they're not really, they're these cool pouches. And they used to have this giant one called like the Everyday Maxi pouch, but they've stopped stocking this one, and now they just have the Maxi pouch, which is a little bit smaller. They're still beautiful, but I'm sad they discontinued this big one. I use these a lot. They're a really good size for like 2 to 3 skeins, I find. And then usually they graduate into a bigger project bag, but for that point they're really lovely. So I've got 3 colours. I ordered 5 colours in total, and I've got 2 skeins of each colour. I'm using Drops Extra Fine Merino, which you think meant it was fingering weight, but it is actually DK, or it's like 110 metres per 50 grams. So yeah, DK. These are 2 of my colours, and this is my 3rd colour. Oh, it's all tangled up. And then I've got like a lighter pink and a lighter green, if you can see the palette. And I'm on my first row. I cast this on last night. It was just super fun, to be honest. So there we go. And I need to decide. I think it could be really fun, if I'm being honest. Like, if I think about this as the way I like working, I think knitting up one big stripe and then seaming them all together could be the more fun way to do things. I need to work out if I can crochet them faster, because I think I could, and if I could crochet them together, that would be pretty quick. But the seaming is not that time consuming, but it's definitely a bit more fiddly than just joining as you go. But it's quite nice, and I'm also thinking is like, I've got my Advent, my Pride and Prejudice Advent from last year that I've not touched yet, and I thought how cool it would be, like, if every colour was a different stripe, like an Advent. So I like having the options. I'm not saying it's going to be ready for Advent, I'm not even going to say it's going to be a pattern, but for right now, that is what I thought I could do. So yeah, I'm on the first one, and I'll probably do this one next, but I think I'm just going to knit every single stripe individually. And my plan is just to go until I finish this. I used a similar weight yarn, and I think I think I accidentally made my second stripe narrower than my first stripe. But this first stripe is 12 grams, and I have a 50 gram ball. So I think I calculated that if I don't even have a tape measure, but I calculated that it would end up being like 80 centimetres across. I think it was 80 centimetres across, and this isn't blocked or anything, and obviously garter does block out a good bit. So baby blanket size, and we'll see if I like it, and we'll see if I stick with it. But yeah, I'm having fun. More colours to come. And yeah, it took a lot of practice to work out how often I wanted this to, like how sharp I wanted the waves to be, or the waves. It's a bit more angular than a wave, to be honest. But I tried a few different methodologies, and I think I quite like it this way. So yeah, I've got a cute little stitch marker to showcase which is the front. That was the other thing, is keeping track of the front and back was a bit of a challenge. It was an I-cord. But I've got a marker to show the front and back, and then I've got a marker to show when I last did an increase for the shaping, and I've got a marker to show how many rows into one direction I am. So I'll go for one direction for X number of rows, and then I switch direction. And so yeah, it's mindless, but there's still quite a lot going on. So we'll see how far I get with that one. Maybe there'll be a waves, oh no, tides. That's what did I call it tides earlier? Maybe there'll be a tides blanket. Maybe there will not be. We will see how far I get. So that is everything. So yeah, we're going away this weekend, and I'm taking just my blanket and my kit with me, which should be kind of fun, and then we'll come back and hopefully next week I can power through and get next finished. That is all for the knitting. Oh, I should have picked another Tolsta. Oh damn, I should have done this at the start, I completely forgot about it. I'm running the Tolsta Tee KAL. That is a knit along where you can use the hashtag TolstaTank. Jeez, I'm a mess. You can use the hashtag TolstaTime and post on Instagram, or you can post in the Ravelry page, which I'll link down below, with a Tolsta. It can be a Tolsta Tee, it can be a Tolsta tank, it can be long sleeve, short sleeve, 4-ply, DK, any of the options that come in the Tolsta pattern. And I'm drawing winners. So I drew a winner 2 episodes ago and their yarn is now on their way to them, and that was Santa's Garn. And I think this time we will do Knitting for Olive Pure Silk as the winner, and I will pick a winner from the Ravelry thread. So I will put that person here, or that post here, and I'll send them a message on Ravelry, and that means the next podcast, which is in 2 weeks time, I'll pull from Instagram. So if you are interested in doing that, you can post there. Every 2 weeks until the end of August, I am drawing a winner who is going to get a Tolsta quantity of a yarn which I knit a Tolsta in, or would knit a Tolsta in. Doesn't have to be one that already exists. Yeah. Cool, that is all for the knitting. What have I got in terms of life updates? I mean, life is never not chaos with me, and every time we say we're done doing a chaotic thing, we go and do another chaotic thing. And that just is kind of continuing. So it's good, but we have a lot going on at the moment. Puppy is doing really well, so thank you for all the lovely comments on him last time. I know that not everyone cares about the puppy, but I, obviously come on and share about my projects, but also share a little bit about my life, and the dramatic changes in my life in the past 4 weeks since bringing a puppy home are pretty big. But he's doing well, he's getting really big. We're getting to a good place with him, I think, and training and having fun with him. And then this weekend we're going to be going away with him for the first time. We've gotten to a point where he's a really affectionate dog, which I think we've reinforced. Like, I think we've made him more affectionate by reinforcing his behaviour. But I just love it so much. He wakes up and he's in his crate and he does a big stretch, and then his first thing he wants to do is just come and like sit in your lap for 5 minutes while he wakes up, and it's so cute. So I'm enjoying that immensely. And otherwise, the weather has been grim. I've had no real summer, but I'm not that mad about it because I've had loads to do at home. And otherwise, I've got some house organising to do, trying to get some stuff just sorted. I feel like there's stuff everywhere. So trying to get through some of that. And I kind of was on top of things so that before Puppy came, I was really ahead of all my admin. And I kind of have run to the end of the runway on that one. So I'm starting to feel like I'm lagging behind on some admin again. Pattern writing, pattern edits, final copies of patterns, emails, all those things to do. So yeah, next week I think will be a big week for that. And I think that's just about it. Not much else to say, I don't think. I feel like I'm missing something obvious. But anyway, I hope you're all doing very well wherever you are in the world. I hope you've enjoyed this, even if it was complete chaos. And I will be back in 2 weeks' time with a podcast episode. And I will have at that point a test call for the next sweater, and my Lunan tee will go live, and I'll have a discount code for that one. And I'll be drawing another winner for the Tolsta KAL. So thank you so much for joining me. Apologies. Not in advance, apologies after the fact for the chaos, and I'll speak to you all again in 2 weeks.